Hello again, hello. Just called to say hello. I couldn't sleep at all tonight, and I know it's late, but I couldn't wait. Hello, my friend, hello. Just called to let you know I think about you every night when I'm here alone and you're there at home. Hello. Maybe it's been crazy, maybe I'm to blame, but I put my heart above my head. We've been through it all, you love me just the same, and when you're not there, I just need to hear hello, my friend, hello. It's good to need you so. It's good to love you like I do, and to feel this way when I hear you say hello. Hello, my friend, hello. Just called to say hello. I couldn't sleep at all tonight, and I know it's late, but I couldn't wait. Hello.
Yes, that was Bob Johnson singing one of his favorite songs by one of his favorite artists, Neil Diamond's Hello Again. Music was such a big part of Bob Johnson's life, as you've heard and will hear, as his former co-workers, his family, his friends celebrate the life of this amazing man. Bob was born in Marietta, or Mayretter as he would say, the youngest of Doyce and Margaret's two sons. He spent a lot of time with his brother Jim and with their cousins, who all found out early that Bob had a determined streak in him.
I want to talk about my determined little brother. And I say little brother, I'm 3 years older than he is, but the summer between my sophomore and junior year in high school, I left for 9 weeks to go to music camp. When I left, I was taller than he was. When I got back 9 weeks later, he was taller than I was. But he always thought he had to do what I had to do. So we'll go back to a time here when that determination showed up in his learning to ride a bicycle. And that was a day in itself.
He always wanted to do what his big brother did. He thought he was as old as he was and he should be allowed to do and could do what big brother did. Well, Jim needed a new bike, so we passed the old one down to Bob, and he was so excited. His dad would get him on there and get him, hold it for him to get started a little bit, and down he would go. Down he would go. Skin and knees and what have you. Get up and try again. He was determined he was going to ride that bike. Well, that went on till in the afternoon. He and Jim both trying to help Bob with that bicycle. He would cry because he couldn't do it like he wanted to do it. But by the late afternoon, he had managed to learn to ride that bike, and off he went, and he never stopped riding. He rode everywhere.
Yeah, and she says everywhere. When Bob decided that he wanted to get into broadcasting, he managed to talk his way into a Sunday morning job at WFOM in Marietta as a DJ. And we couldn't always take him over there in a car, so he would ride that bicycle. By this time he had a bigger bike, but he'd ride that bicycle across town to do his Sunday shift at the radio station. And of course, most of you know that from that radio station he went on to radio in Marietta, to Athens, and then TV in Atlanta and Charleston. And then on to Chattanooga, where we are now. He was always determined that he was going to do things, and he was going to do things right.
And he loved animals, kittens and dogs and puppies, and every little stray dog and cat. He was determined that he wanted to bring it home and love it and care for it. He was a special young man.
Bob got into music and broadcasting during his high school years. He was drum major in the high school band. He and some of his friends formed a band. Bob played guitar and sang. His radio career morphed into a TV career after he graduated from Georgia with a degree in journalism.
Right now, here's Bob Johnson to tell you about our prizes. Thank you, Dave. Each week, TV5 awards $100 to our winning school, and World Book awards a suitable prize from their library of publications. $50 goes to our runner-up school. An additional $50 is set aside each week to be awarded to the season's championship school. These funds will be administered by that school to help finance college educations for its students.
After stops in Atlanta and Charleston, South Carolina, Bob came to Chattanooga in 1975 as WTVC's new news anchor. They had hired me to do sports. We later got the bosses to hire Don Welch to do weather. All three of us had radio backgrounds. We all loved music, so a long partnership was born.
Join Bob, Darrell, and Don for Action News on 9.
Bob never changed over the years. He never changed. He was always the same cordial news guy that he was when I saw him last. He never seemed to change, and that was good. I think people like that. His friends loved that. Bob was always Bob. What you saw is what you got. And that's what everybody loved about him. He would get on to me about one word that I would put into a script because it just was natural to me to say that. And actually, it's not a word that is out of the ordinary. I mean, we say it every day because the word is. Actually, I would put that in a script every once in a while. And Bob would come in, and as I say, we'd go, hey Bob, how you doing? How you doing? Hey Calvin, good to see you. You don't have the word actually in a script, do you? No, Bob, I don't have it in the script. But sometimes I would just sneak it in there, just to aggravate him. And he would shake his head sometimes. He'd say, I don't know why you say that. When you say actually, it makes people think that what you told them before is not the truth. So don't say that. When Mel got sick, when she got sick the first time, I think that affected Bob probably more than it affected us. We were shocked and just almost beside ourselves because, I mean, you know, nobody among our little family had ever gotten that sick before that we were that close to. And but I think it affected Bob a little bit more because, of course, he anchored with Mel. You know, people think just because you sit beside somebody, you know, and you banter back and forth doing the news, I do one story, you do a story, I do a story, you do a story, that in between the commercial breaks or something like that, that we don't talk. Well, we do, actually. We talk. Co-anchor people talk to each other, and they get very familiar with their family and how they do things and things like that. And I think this just affected Bob a little bit more, simply because he knew Mel a lot better than a lot of us did. I would have never dreamed that at this point in my life, at the point in which I retired, that Bob and Mel would not have been sitting there doing the news. Because you think they're going to be there forever. You're so familiar with them, you're so comfortable with them. You know, they're like members of the family, they're like neighbors out by the back fence. I would have never thought that they would not be here, you know, when I'm ready to leave it all. But, I mean, you know, what do? God has a plan.
I met Bob in the late 90s. I was in Chattanooga working for Fox 61 doing their news at 10 o'clock and kind of admired him from afar and kind of just knew how wonderful he was, how great he was, and how respected he was. And even hate sitting here talking about him like it's the past. He's not here with us anymore, and it's really difficult to talk about. But he was such a leader to everyone. He was a mentor to myself included. And he treated everyone the same. He loved everyone. And what you saw on TV and his personality with Mel and Darrell, that's who he was. He was just an amazing man. Some people called him a gentle giant, too. He was very quiet, and he was very smart, and he listened to everything you had to say. If you had a question, he was there, and you had his 100% uninterrupted attention. When I came back, after Marilyn got sick, and the news director told me that I would be filling in for Mel with Bob when she would have times that she needed to be away. And when the news director told me I was going to be co-anchoring with Bob Johnson, I think my reaction was kind of like, are you kidding me? Really? There's no way I can sit next to him. I'm so intimidated because he is so good. He is that amazing. But he taught me, and he helped me feel comfortable and confident because that's what he was. And just to think about him not being here anymore is really, it's heart-wrenching. But when you say Bob Johnson or you say News Channel 9, they're synonymous. Bob Johnson was the face of News Channel 9. He was the personality of News Channel 9. Everybody knew Bob. Everybody loved Bob. I will pass along what a friend of mine said on social media about Bob Johnson in a fun way. So, you know, anybody who ever wondered, that was his real hair. One last thing. I think I can speak for everyone here at News Channel 9 and from my heart and from the greater Chattanooga community. Bob Johnson, you are greatly missed.
Well, Bob Johnson. What can I say? So many memories, so many stories. Would not know where to start. I actually first met Bob in April of 1984 in the News Channel 9 newsroom when I first came to Chattanooga. He was at his desk smoking a pipe. seemingly back then, everybody at News Channel 9, most everybody, was smoking a pipe. I had smoked one in my younger years, and I didn't think I looked very good. But Bob Johnson looked cool smoking a pipe, and that is what I always will remember about BJ. He was cool. He was kind of like the Fred Couples of golf. To this day, many of us believe that when Couples is on the course, he's the coolest guy on the course. Bob was cool, no matter where he was. If he was delivering the news on the set, if he was at his desk in the newsroom, if he was emceeing some sort of an event around town, if he was on the golf course. Bob Johnson was the coolest guy in the room, and I think what made it so interesting with Bob is that was coupled, if you will, with his kindness. Bob was just a kind guy. He had a big heart. He had a good heart. He wanted everybody to do well. He had good intentions, the best of intentions. Did it always work out? Of course not. That's life. But always, Bob was kind, and you couple that with just a cool way of doing things. BJ was really, really special. And you know, I think that translated to on the set, delivering the news as well, professionally speaking. He was such a pro. It was a different time, we all know that. Anchors were truly anchors. They were here on the set, and they anchored everything, and Bob was perfect for that job. Throw in the kindness and the coolness, just a comfort kind of thing, and I think there's no question that people really enjoyed at home welcoming him into their living room. It was easy. They could see what kind of a guy he was. Make no mistake, professionally, back in the day, we had a lot of talent here at News Channel 9. It was a different world. It was a different time. Understood. We had talent in front of the camera. We had talent behind the scenes, a lot of it. But Bob was the man. You hear that phrase all the time. Bob was the man. I told him many times, his face, his voice, his words, it was Channel 9. We all were along for the ride, and what a ride it was. I'll always remember the mustache. He had to cut off his mustache several years ago, and I was a little paranoid and said, maybe I should cut off my mustache. And he said, nah, you're a mustache kind of guy. Don't ever cut it. And there we go. So I'll close by saying this, what I said on social media the day that BJ passed away. Bob, we'll miss you. We love you. Say hi to everybody up there. Have a safe journey. Rest in peace. And we'll see you down the road. And remember, as we always talked about, keep it in the fairway. It's always easier to hit it from the short grass.
There are so many words I can use to describe Bob Johnson. Professionalism, well-educated, stature. I want to focus on stature. Now, Bob was a big man, but I'm talking about stature in our community, in his profession, among his peers. When Bob Johnson made an entrance, whether it be into a studio or onto a stage or just walking into a restaurant, he had command of the room. Men looked on in awe, and women just looked. We all knew we were in the presence of someone special. The first time I actually got to spend any real time with Bob was in the back seat of a car. We were among some members of the media being driven to the World's Fair in Knoxville. Now, I was a mere disc jockey in the presence of this great anchor man. But to my surprise, he was kind of shy and soft-spoken. He loosened up after a little while, and we shared our mutual stories of starting out at small radio stations. He told me how he and his teenage buddies in Marietta, Georgia, got a one-tube radio transmitter, hooked it up to a turntable, and started playing records. The only people who could hear him on the radio were his close neighbors. But that didn't matter. He was broadcasting, and he got really good at it at a very young age. When I told one of my radio pals I'd been hanging out with Bob Johnson, he said, "Wow, what's he really like?" I said, "You know, it's like someone took equal parts of Clark Gable and Burt Reynolds and then created the perfect anchor man with class, charm, brains, wit, and personality." Bob had it all. And these last few years had to be hard for Bob. Parkinson's robbed him of his microphone, his strong voice, and his mobility. I'm so glad we were able to spend a little time with him at our annual radio reunions, where every single person walked up to Bob every year to tell him how much he had meant to them. We all had stories of how he had informed us and influenced us, and we meant every word of it. He was always so humble, modest, and appreciative. As a competitor, I was honored to have him on the other channel because he forced us to be better. Thank you, Bob, for being a friend and for being a positive force in our lives.
It's my honor to be part of this video tribute to Bob Johnson. He's remembered by so many people in various ways. My own personal recollection of Bob is the first time I ever saw him on television. It was in the early 80s. I was working in another TV market and visiting friends here and learned about Bob and the inroads he was already making in the television market here. He was pioneering a new way of reporting the news and anchoring the news, and everyone looked up to him and everyone wanted to compete like he did. So it was really my honor to come here and work in this same market. But Bob was an icon. He was bigger than life. Folks talked about Bob everywhere, and he will always be remembered in that way. But he was so much more than that. He was a communicator and a great storyteller. He was one of those people that everyone wanted to be with and enjoy their time with. And you could measure Bob by the friends he had and the loyalty they have to him. And Darrell and Don and so many others who worked with him but were also good friends with him, including the folks behind the scenes who adored Bob as well. Mary Ellen, I know, respected him so much and loved working with him. And I know how tender-hearted Bob was because of the grief he had when we lost Mary Ellen. It was so easy to see how much he loved her and loved others so well in his life. We're sorry to say goodbye to him, but he fought a good fight and he stayed with us as long as he could. Rest in peace, Bob.
What we do in broadcasting sometimes looks easy, but it is not. And Bob had that ability to combine a lot of the science in broadcasting with the art of broadcasting that very few people have ever been able to successfully do. His work ethic was beyond compare, and I remember a lot of the stories that Bob did. Probably one of the standouts is when Bob went to Russia. I watched all of those reports, and Bob made you feel like you were there in Russia with him. Not just on the outside looking in. He actually made you feel like you were there. And Bob had that knack of telling all of his stories just like that. If Bob were still with us, alive and working like he was a number of years ago, there wouldn't be anybody in this market and beyond this market that could touch him. Bob was that good. He knew the difference between being a reporter and being a real broadcast journalist. And make no mistake about it, Bob was a true broadcast journalism professional, and it showed. Away from work, Bob was a lot of fun. Whether you were out having dinner with him or just socializing at a charity event, Bob was fun. Bob was chock full of life, and you've heard that expression, lightning in a bottle. That was Bob Johnson. Lightning in a bottle, both in front of the camera and off camera as well. I'll miss him.
Bob made a huge impact and many friends in his 32 years at Channel 9, blazing a trail in anchorman duties, getting outside the studio to help find big brothers, big sisters, and permanent homes for hard-to-place adoptable kids.
Wednesday's Child had a special place in Bob's heart. When we first started out with Wednesday's Child, we were determined that it wasn't going to be meat market journalism, that we weren't going to spend 30 minutes showing you a kid and walking away and saying, there you go. Bob wanted you to know that each of these kids was special. They were special needs kids, but they were special, and they had a special place in your heart. One little girl that we met at a park north of Dayton. We spent 3.5 hours trying to get to know this little girl. She wouldn't let Bob pick her up. At the end of about 3.5, 4 hours, she let Bob hug her. And as soon as she hugged Bob, we started shooting Wednesday's Child. We were almost late for the newscast that night, but that's the way Bob wanted to treat Wednesday's Child. Each one was individually special, and each one had a special place in Bob's heart. There was a little young man, 8 or 9 years old. He was in a wheelchair, and we were out at the Tennessee Valley Railroad Museum. And he couldn't get inside the cars. And he was wearing a metal body brace, and Bob picked him up. Bob carried him up the giant railroad steps into the train engine. And for a few minutes, he got to experience everything that every other kid wanted to see on a train. He got to be a train engineer. There are lots of great stories from Wednesday's Kid. They were probably one of the best things Bob ever did.
Bob produced and hosted numerous specials, spotlighting the likes of James Gregory, Michael Malden as Mark Twain, and Alabama.
I just want to say that it was an honor when I was asked to say a few words for my dear buddy, Bob Johnson.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to June Jam 16. Are we having a good time now?
I really don't know what the June Jam would have done without the help of Bob and the folks at Channel 9 and Mary, his sidekick there on the news that I loved as well. And it's really tough to lose great friends besides people that are just integral in as far as what you're trying to do as far as helping people when we were doing the June Jam. And so to all the folks that are there, I want them to remember Bob for all the great things he did. And for me personally, the June Jam could have never amounted to what it did and the great things that we were able to do without the help of Bob Johnson. And I want to thank him and all the many interviews that we did. We had some fun talking off camera, of course. And so I'll be looking forward to seeing Bob in the future in heaven.
It's an honor to be asked to say a few words about my good friend Bob Johnson in tribute. Somebody much wiser than me once said that no one can really eulogize another, for we write our own eulogy every day of our lives by the way that we live it. I'm not sure what I could add to all the wonderful words that have already been said about Bob. Talented, intelligent, caring, extremely good at what he did. I had the career that took me all over the country and a large part of the world. And I know that I never saw anyone who did it any better than Bob. But when you look at a person's marker, gravestone, you'll see a birth date and a death date. And in between that, there's this little dash. And that little dash stands for a whole life. Whether we and how we live our lives, using that talent that we have, intelligence that we have, do we use it for good or for bad? Bob used his for good. We can all be proud of the light that he shed on all of our lives. You wonder how many children's lives, families' lives did he touch with all the work that he did with all the various charities, including Ronald McDonald House or St. Jude, Children's Research Hospitals, the telethons. How many lives did he touch with just the Wednesday's Child alone? Bob had a life well lived. He used his talents for good. And to me, that's as important as whether you were talented or how many awards you won. But Bob, you are a Hall of Famer in every sense of the word. And it all boils down to, we love you, Bob, and we're going to miss you.
Helping others was a Bob Johnson trademark, and he was always first in line to volunteer to host numerous fundraising telethons.
I met Bob back in 1976. He had just started, and I'd come into Channel 9 with an idea to do a telethon for St. Jude Children's Research Hospital. And of course, Bob was going to be one of the anchors. Darrell was going to be one of the anchors, and Don Welch was going to be one of the anchors. And I've often said that the four of us grew up together because I just came in 1976, and I've just kind of hung around until now. You know, but I did a lot of telethons with Bob. Bob and I formed a bond that we kind of had this love for children that were sick. And Bob used to do these human interest stories for our children at St. Jude. And I always told him, I said, Bob, how do you look into the hearts of not only the children, but the parents and volunteers like me who just want to make a better world for them? How do you place everything that's in everybody's heart on film? And he just had that talent. I've often thought, how many lives did Bob Johnson touch? You know, the ripple effect, all the St. Jude families, the Wednesday's Child's Children's Hospital, the MD families. You know, I wrote a little tribute, and I heard from all these St. Jude families that said, when Mr. Johnson would walk in the room, he was bigger than life, and he had such a presence that I was always just starstruck, but somehow I could talk to him because he evoked both feelings. You wanted to be odd, but then you had this feeling that you could share anything with him. My husband has Parkinson's disease, and it is a mean and nasty disease, and what's very common is for people who are diagnosed with it, they don't talk about it. Their doctors don't talk about it to them. Their friends don't talk about it to them. And so for 2 years, my husband did not talk about it. But it wasn't until one night we saw Bob, and Bob sat down with Phil, and he explained to him what he would be going through. And he explained to him in a way that it didn't make Phil afraid, and he just warned him about the future. I will always be grateful to Bob Johnson in that conversation, and while it broke my heart to hear him tell his story, and it broke my heart for my husband to hear it, that was one of the most meaningful conversations we've ever had with anybody about Parkinson's. I'm just going to miss Bob. I'm going to miss Bob as everyone else. You know, you'd like to think you have your own private love for him that nobody else shares, and then you realize it's everybody in the community. I've heard from so many people that said, even though Bob wasn't on air, we always felt his presence, and he's going to be missed.
When I think about Bob, I have to think about the terrific trio, because Bob and Darrell Patterson and Don Welch really elevated Chattanooga broadcasting to took it to a different place than it had ever been back in 1975. And from then on, I think they held that place. And a large part of that was due to the fact that Bob was a superior storyteller. He really was. His editing was always beautifully done. And if you wanted a piece done sensitively, you asked for his opinion about how things should go, what shot should go where. And He was unfailingly good at that. I always loved doing the telethons with him. And one year we ended up, and I don't remember why, I think Mary Ellen might have been unable to participate. But we ended up being the talent, and it was great fun to play off him because he was awfully good at that also. He had quick comebacks. I think Bob would want to be remembered as a real storyteller, as somebody who got to the heart of every story that he ever did. We were blessed to know him. There's no question about that. And as I said at first, this community was blessed to have him and Darrell and Don in the positions that they were in the 1970s, because they made the transition from fairly amateurish television to real professional presentation. And the admiration that he got, he deserved.
Parkinson's disease ended Bob's broadcasting career in 2007.
And there's not a proper way, not an easy way to say thank you other than to say thank you. The biggest influence you've had is you came in here as a professional, you're walking out as a professional, you've had a tremendous influence over the years, you've made us #1, you've had an influence of this current crop of broadcast journalists making us #1 and keeping us #1, so I thank you for that. This is a small token of our appreciation, and if you can hold on, we have one more token of our appreciation. Not many people know it, but Bob loves karaoke, and Bob loves the guitar. So what we wanted to do was present you with a guitar signed by all your friends and associates, everyone here at News Channel 9. We expect you to come back and play it, and we expect you to sing, but on behalf of News Channel 9, Freedom Communications, thank you, we love you, and we wish you the best.
Thank you, Mike, and thank you, News Channel 9, and all the people. A lot of people back here. Thank you.
Darrell, I think you ought to play a little, don't you?
If you'll play, we can sing.
Yeah, I bet we can sing if you can play.
I don't know if I can do that.
Well, we'll see. I think we've got a little time here, a few seconds one way or the other.
See, he can play. He is talented.
Wow, listen.
I haven't played in a while.
In the twilight glow I see you, blue eyes crying in the rain. When we kissed goodbye and parted, I knew we'd never meet again.
Oops, sorry.
Love is like a dying ember, only memories remain. Through the ages I'll remember blue eyes crying in the rain.
Then there was Elvira.
Oh, let's don't do
Elvira. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. We appreciate it very much. Love you, brother.
Thank you, Bob. I appreciate that. I love you.
The man. He's the man.
Thank you. God bless you, everybody. God bless you all. Thank you so much.
Boy, I wish I had $1 for every time that Bob and I sang that song over the last 45 years. We spent so much time together singing, playing golf. We shared a workspace together. We became really good friends. We were more like brothers, really. And I hope that today you have grown to know and love the Bob Johnson that all of us got to know and love during our more than 4 decades together. We're deeply hurt, and we will mourn the loss of our great friend, but we have so many memories that'll last us a lifetime. Bob's wife, Rebecca, wanted me to pass along to you her deep felt gratitude to everyone who's played a part in this celebration of life, from their loving family members and friends who supported her and Bob through this journey. Special thanks to Hospice of Chattanooga East team for their compassionate care, and to Companion Funeral Home for their kindness. We're going to close today with a song that Bob and Rebecca recorded about 20 years ago. Goodbye, Bob. We'll always love you, but we'll never forget you, my friend.